Mr. Chairman, Mr. Barr, switching gears a little bit. Yesterday, a federal district court judge in Pennsylvania struck down the Trump administration's religious and moral exemptions to the contraceptive mandate under the Affordable Care Act. As part of this ruling, the district court judge issued a nationwide injunction to any enforcement or application of these rules. This is a growing trend. We've seen a lot of this in the last 2 years. We've seen lots and lots of district courts all across the country in various contexts, in the immigration context and others, issue nationwide injunctions. And now, of course, for those listening at home, the entire nation is not within the jurisdiction of these courts. These courts are district courts. They reach a specific geographic areas delineated by law, and yet they're issuing increasingly commonly these injunctions that reach the entire country. This is a fairly unusual and fairly recent practice. In distinction to this, the district court judge in Texas, who recently heard a challenge to the Affordable Care Act case, did not issue a nationwide injunction, and therefore allowing the appeals process to take its normal course. And of course, the ACA remains in full effect throughout that appeals process because he did not issue a nationwide injunction. So my question is to you, are you concerned about this growing practice of nationwide injunctions by federal district courts, and what do you think ought to be done about it?
Yes, I'm very concerned by it. Earlier I was talking about this and saying that I think it mistakes the limitation on judicial power, which is a case or controversy limitation, and tries to grant relief to people who are not part of the case or controversy that's being decided. And as you said, it's really started in the 60s, and it's been picking up steam. And the fact of the matter is there are a lot of district court judges, and you can usually find one who somewhere in the country will agree with you. And so major democratic decisions can be held up by one judge nationwide. I'm also concerned that there's another trend, which is the willingness of some district court judges to wade into matters of national security, where in the past courts would not have presumed to be enjoining those kinds of things. And then the appeals process takes a long time, and so a lot of damage can be done before it gets to the Supreme Court and you get a definitive decision. And meanwhile, everything is stuck.
Can you just say more? You're concerned about courts that wade into national security issues where traditionally they have hesitated to do so. Can you just say more about that? What do you have in mind?
Like the travel ban.
Mm-hmm. And the concern there is that,
I mean, the president takes something based on national security, and and the Constitution vests that kind of judgment for that kind of emergency act or act that he has the authority to perform to protect the country. He's politically accountable for that, and yet a judge with a lifetime appointment sitting somewhere in the country who doesn't have the access to the information, has no political accountability, can stop a national security measure, globally, essentially. And it takes a long time to get that sorted out. That's really troublesome to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Let me ask you about another recent case, this one from the Southern District of New York today, in which the district courts ruled that the attempt by the Commerce Department to include a citizenship question on the census is not permissible, and has stopped the Commerce Department from including that on the 2020 census. The department has argued, of course, and the Department of Justice is defending this decision, that including a citizenship question, as was done for approximately 100 years on the census, actually helps identify with greater accuracy the residents of the country who is and who is not a citizen, and of course helps more accurately apportion and draw congressional districts and make sure that representation is fair and the Voting Rights Act is fairly enforced. Do you agree with that position?
Well, it's being litigated now, so I really would prefer not to comment on it.
Do you anticipate that the Department of Justice will continue its vigorous defense of the position that the administration has taken?
I think generally, I'd have no reason to change that position.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.